So, in this video, I'm going to walk you through using Bootstrap to make a top 10 list. You'll obviously, this is just a template, you'll obviously be creating the top 10 list of your choosing, but we're going to use some of the kind of the basic elements of Bootstrap, and then you're going to customize it to make it beautiful and awesome. So what you'll see here is kind of where we're getting to at the end of the video, but we've got a large header and a Jumbotron, an introduction and a well, and then there's going to be 4 rows. So 2 that both have 2 columns in them, and then 2 rows at the bottom that have 3. And they're all going to be responsive in Bootstrap style so that as the screen that it's being viewed on gets smaller, the top 10 list adjusts itself. So that's where we're going. I'm going to close that for now. You can come up with any top 10 list that makes you happy. The internet is full of fun and exciting ideas to get you started, so that's just there for your viewing pleasure. So in the last video, you should have made a Bootstrap template folder inside your web design folder. What I'm going to do for right now is just duplicate this. I'm going to rename it top 10. And then inside here, instead of the template, I'm going to rename that top 10 as well. And I'll keep the style sheets the same. So we'll start by opening up everything in Atom. So there's the template. And there is the connected style sheet. So we'll start here. And as you can see, all our beautiful work is done. Let's change the name. But the Bootstrap link is here. Our container is already created for us. So our first job is going to be within the container to create what's called a Jumbotron. And a Jumbotron is just a large heading in Bootstrap. So we'll create a div that has the class of Jumbotron. And then inside the Jumbotron, I'm going to create a large heading. And for right now, I'll just call it top 10 list. Save it, and let's open that in a different window. And a Jumbotron, as you'll see, just by default is going to give you a gray large well, and it's inside our container, and it's gonna be responsive automatically. Great. All right. So underneath our Jumbotron, let's create another div, and let's just create a well, which is just a partition in Bootstrap. And within the well, let's use maybe an H4. So a kind of smaller heading, subheading that's going to say this is and close that off. Save it, reload it, and there you see the well appear. And again, it's got the same kind of default coloring. You're going to want to change that when you customize your page. Fantastic. Okay, so underneath our well, we're going to start right in with our first row. And like before, what I want to do is use comments that are going to help us as this page grows longer to differentiate between our rows. So this is the first row. And then here, we'll create the row. Now we know where it starts, now we know where it ends. Within the row, like I said before, we're going to have, in this first one, 2 columns. So we'll start off with creating the first one. The class is going to be column, and because we want 2, I'm going to set it for a small device. And what this does is says I want to span 6 of the 12 spaces, basically, that are part of the Bootstrap grid system. So if I have 2 columns that span 6, it's going to divide the page in two. And let's close that. And then within the column, we're going to create an image, or space for an image really. And I'm going to go to placeholder.com. I don't have my images picked out yet because this is just a template. So I'm going to copy their lovely placeholder. And for these larger images, I want to go with 400 by 300. So we've got our image placeholder. The class we're going to give these images is called image responsive, and Bootstrap is going to take care of kind of making the image responsive to different device sizes. And I'm going to do some inline styling here and give it a width of 100%. Okay, so now if I save that and reload it, what we have now is a very simple image. Fantastic. And then let's give this a heading. You're going to customize this by thing number 1. And I'm going to use my lorem ipsum cheat method and get some fake text. I'm not going to want a ton of text, and you probably aren't either, to introduce each item, but I'm going to give it one sentence. You can kind of adjust that up or down as you want. And then the last thing I'm going to do, I think your viewers are going to get really excited by your page, and they're going to want more info. So I'm going to create a break line for separation, and then underneath it, an anchor tag that is a button that links to more information. Now, right now, we don't have that information. So we're just going to use the number sign as a placeholder. Whoa, sorry about that, y'all. We'll give it a class. Bootstrap has already created this for us, but if we give it a class button, and then I'm going to use just the basic info button. Its role is to be a button. And I'm just going to give the button title the name more information. And then we'll close off that anchor tag. I'm going to save it. And let's see our page. You reload it. We now have a space for an image, title, subheading, and button. Fantastic. That is crazy. Okay. And now, since it's all kind of going to be similar across the page, I'm going to copy this column. I'm going to create another one. It's still going to span 6. I want it to be the same size, so everything's the same. I'm just going to change it so that it's my second item. And then as we reload this, you can see there are now spaces for 2 columns. Okay, and then, so I've got my first row. It's going to look very similar to my second row at this point. So instead of reinventing the wheel, I'm going to copy here, and I'm going to paste. And then instead of, and I'll just remind myself as I go through, this is the second row. And these comments are really going to help me out as I go to, and help you out as you go to style your page. So that all looks good, except for now we're on to thing number 3 and thing number 4. Let's take a look here at our page. I'm just installing everything today. And all right, it looks decent. It's coming together. One thing I don't like, do you see how the button is kind of running into the next page? So what I'm going to do is go into the style and say, hey, for every row, let's just give it some breathing room. So let's give it a margin bottom of 20 pixels. Great. And then if I save that and reload it, you can see the space kind of came up. Fantastic. All right, so we have our first 4 items, our first 2 rows. Let's go in and create our next 2 rows. So this is the 3rd row. And go to class equals. And this is the part that's going to be different. So the class is going to be column small. And now instead of spanning 6 or half of the grid system, we're going to span 4 or just a third of the grid system. And that will close the column. And this is going to close the div. So let's mark that so we know. Okay. And then within this column, we'll create another image. And I'm just going to honestly just pull this. Actually, I'm going to pull the whole thing. For these smaller ones, let's give them square images. So we'll do 200 by 200. The width is going to be the same. There's still going to be a button at the end. So honestly, I'm going to pull this whole line of code here. And the only difference is now we're up to 5. Alright, so let's see if that worked out. So now, we have one of our 3 pieces. So here's the column. Let's grab all that code from beginning to end, and we're going to make 2 more. So 1, 2. And this will be thing number 5. This one is thing number 6. And this one is thing number 7. So let's save that. Reload it. Fantastic. And we've got our 3rd row. So now we're up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to need 1 more row. And this, honestly, we're just going to do the lazy thing, because it makes the most sense. We're going to grab the entire 3rd row and pull it down here to the bottom. And now, instead of the 3rd row, we're going to make sure we know this is the end of the 4th row. And the size and everything is going to be the same, except for now we're up to 8, 9, and 10. Oh look, and now we have a Bootstrap mystery. Well, I've got 2 mysteries going on. We're going to solve them in a second. Okay, fantastic. So we have everything is working out, but for some reason, and I think I can tell already, we've got this kind of hanging, and this happens all the time in Bootstrap as documents get, now we're at 130 lines of code. This div belongs somewhere different, and when I copied and pasted, I neglected to close off a row. So I'm going to have to actually go back through and figure out exactly where that is, which I'm not going to make you sit through. Okay. The last piece, so right now we've got most of the page done. We've got a header, a place for a subheading, a place for our pictures, buttons that give us more information. Ooh. The last piece that I wanted to do was create a footer, and this is actually going to go after the container. And the footer is going to be a place, you can keep it or not, but if you do grab content from the internet, this is just going to be a place to cite your sources. So I'm just going to do this for now so we have some mock text. And close it on a footer tag. And let's see it appear on the page. Right now it looks very sad and boring. I want to know where this mystery tag goes. Is it reading it? Okay, I found it. So it looks like this. Mystery solved. Let's see if this works. Fantastic. Okay, so now everything is there and loaded. I'm going to give a little bit of style, but mostly that's going to be up to you at this point. You know how to use Color Lovers. You know how to use Google Fonts. The one thing I did want to do is style this footer so that it didn't look quite so sad. So let's give it some style. So we'll call it by its tag. I'm going to give it a real boring background color of 555. Let's see what that turns to. And let's make the text color white. You can change all this, but I also want a padding of 15 pixels. Let's go back here. And if we reload, now there's a slightly more interesting looking footer for you. And it's fixed because it's outside that container. Cool, so this is not a super exciting top 10 page, but it's a good template that you can now start to personalize with Google Fonts, with your own images, with your own colors, etc., and start to kind of link and get everything to flush out. Awesome.